One of the biggest concerns that I get as a dietitian from my clients or patients is that won't it be too expensive to eat healthy? A lot of people often have this misperception that, it's going to be really expensive to eat healthy. And I think it's often an excuse that they can use to not eat healthy because, it's expensive. And don't get me wrong, it can be very expensive. If you go to health food stores and you buy all the weird and wonderful superfoods and you opt for your health, your extremely healthy ingredients according to the internet or according to friends, then yes, it can definitely turn out to be very expensive and not budget friendly. But it doesn't need to be that way. So I thought today I'm going to give you 5 things to think about, or tips, if you may, that will maybe help you eat healthy on a budget, because it is definitely possible. Okay, so the very first tip that I have, and this is definitely going to be a tip for eating healthy on a budget, but it's also going to be an important tip that you need to try and implement if you are planning on losing weight, or if you want to follow a specific diet plan, or you have a goal in mind that you want to reach. So the very first tip that I have is planning. So planning is super, super important. If you don't plan, what does that say? If you fail to plan, is planning to fail. And that is really the truth. So I recommend that you sit maybe on a Sunday or Saturday when you have a little bit of time, excuse me, and you look at your week's program and what you have in your cupboard and your fridge and your freezer, and you plan your meals for that week. And then you can either online shopping, which is I think also even better for the budget, because then you don't end up buying things that you don't need, or then going to the grocery store and buying your things when you're not hungry. So go after lunch, never shop when you're hungry, because you'll also buy things that you don't need because of the fact that you're hungry. And then you have all the ingredients and all the foods you need to prepare your meals for that week. But if you don't plan, unfortunately what happens is the week gets busy and you're tired, or whatever the case may be, and you still need to stop at the shops after work. So it's just easier to stop at a fast food restaurant or get a Woolies ready-made meal than stopping at Woolworths, getting all the ingredients, going home and preparing the meal, and then only eating. So let's be honest, if you don't have that, then of course you're going to stop for something that's quicker and more convenient. So planning your meals for the week is definitely going to help with sticking to your budget, but then also sticking to your health and fitness goals. The next one is protein. So protein often is the more expensive component when it comes to your meals. So if you aren't vegan or vegetarian, we know that we often say salmon and steak, for example, is great protein options, but they are more expensive. So if that is not in your budget, you can still achieve your protein goals and still get great sources of protein for a lot cheaper. Things like your dairy products, eggs, and then if you are vegan and vegetarian, things like your beans and lentils and so forth. Your tinned options are also a lot more, cheaper, and even your frozen options are cheaper than your fresh options. So you don't need to, always buy fresh fish or, fresh meat. You can always look at the frozen options or the tinned options. They're just as good, and they are often a lot cheaper. The next one is to avoid nutrition fads. So this is often when you see those foods or ingredients or supplements that are advertised to change your life. They're gonna have this amazing amount of protein and powerful healing properties and so forth. And that may be the case, but it's not necessary. If you are on a budget, those products are often very expensive. If you're thinking about specific seeds or specific powders and supplements and those types of things, yes, they're great if you want to incorporate them into your diet. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you are on a budget, that might be pushing your budget just a little bit over to the side where you're not being able to stick to your budget and you're feeling that healthy eating is too expensive. So try to avoid those products. You can really still achieve a healthy diet and achieve your health and fitness goals with just plain normal food that you buy at the grocery store. The next tip that I have is that you don't need to buy organic or free range or always fresh. If you can and you want to, great, then be my guest to do that. But if you can't, and the fact that buying organic or buying free range or buying products fresh is preventing you from eating healthy, then definitely go for the frozen or the normal conventional options. There's really nothing wrong with that. I just always recommend that if you are buying fresh produce that's not necessarily organic, just make sure you wash it properly before you eat it so that you can wash off majority of the pesticides and so forth that they use. And then also with the meat, try to buy it from a good quality butcher or a supermarket where it's still at least been processed in a proper way, for example. But if you can't buy organic or fresh, then definitely frozen or tinned or non-organic is still healthy enough. So you can definitely still have a great diet with those products. The last tip that I have to help you eat healthy on a budget is to buy in bulk if you can. This is especially for families. This definitely helps buying rice in a 2 kilogram packet instead of a 500 gram packet. And really, if you are buying bulk, trying to prepare it in bulk as well, because then you'll save a bit of energy and time and electricity. So buying in bulk often does save a lot of money, but with buying in bulk comes planning, because if you're buying in bulk, there's a very high risk of food wastage, and food wastage is where we're wasting a lot of money and where healthy eating can become very expensive, because we can buy a lot of different fruits and a lot of different veggies and a lot of different healthy foods, and then we don't know how to prepare them, or we just bought too much and we never get to the point where we prepare them and then we throw them away, and then that is just really very expensive. So when you are buying in bulk, make sure you are planning properly and seeing how you can incorporate that ingredient. Let's say it's rice, or let's say it's a big bag of baby spinach, or whatever the case may be, but that you incorporate it throughout your meals in the week so that you use that product up. Or if you are buying in bulk, buy things that can last a little bit longer, that is more shelf stable, for example. But in that same voice, I would say, if you are living alone, or let's say you are only making small amounts of food for 1 or 2 people at a time, a shop like the Refillery is a great option. So that's a shop where you can go, you take your own containers, or they have brown paper bags or containers you can buy there, and you can dish out the amount of food like rice or nuts or seeds or flour. They have everything that you need specifically, and you pay only for that amount. Often it does work out a lot cheaper because you don't pay for the packaging of that product, so it does tend to work out a little bit cheaper. It does take a little bit of planning. You can order online as well, but it helps if you just want to incorporate a little bit of certain seeds and nuts, but you don't want to buy a big bag because you don't have that finances at the moment. You can go to a shop like the Refillery, for example, where you can really just pick and choose what you need, the amount that you need, and you'll then be sure to not waste anything, because food wastage is very expensive, let's be honest. So that's my 5 things I would say you need to think about: planning, your cheaper protein options, try to avoid nutrition fads and extreme supplements and extreme ingredients if that's not something you can afford. Organic is not necessarily the best. You can still get by with frozen, tinned or non-organic products, and buying in bulk, or then buying packaging free, where you can decide on how much you want to buy at that moment in time. Those are things you can do today to make sure that you are sticking to your budget, but then also sticking to your diet. I hope this has been helpful. Let us know if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next one.